Rookie Hunter is proudly brought to you by the Wild Sheep Foundation. If you'd like to support their mission to put and keep wild sheep on the mountain, you can go to wildsheepfoundation.org to become a member, renew your membership, or become a lifetime member. You can even get yourself some badass WSF merch. All of that can be found at wildsheepfoundation.org. And while you're there, check out Sheep Fever, the official podcast of the Wild Sheep Foundation. Rookie Hunter continues to stay connected with Zoleo. If you're in the market for a new satellite communicator, go to Zoleo.com, that's Zoleo.com, and get yourself a satellite communicator you can rely on. And of course, we're partnered with our friends at North Arm Knives. The season will be here before you know it, so head over to northarmknives.com and get yourself a blade. Hey guys, welcome to episode 183. So on the last episode, I said I was going to do a field guide episode around shelters. And I recorded that, but I decided to do something different for this next episode. And I'll give you some backstories. So I decided to go and revisit a place that in the very beginning was very fruitful for us, I would say. 1 year in particular, and this is the spot where I got my first 4-point buck and my first ever buck. And I decided to make a trip up there and see what it's like now. And it's changed a lot, man. But it kind of sent me down memory lane a little bit, and thinking about my old dog Oscar, and the excitement of being a new hunter. And I got up, I sort of retraced my steps of where I first heard the buck and where I shot it, and kind of walked down to where I field dressed it and did the gutless method for the very first time. So it was really cool. I spent a good 4 hours just sitting up there. And if you know me, that's a long time for me to just sit in one spot. It's a lot different now, and I didn't see much sign, and I didn't see any deer up there, which was surprising. That doesn't mean that they're not there, but it just kind of puts things into perspective how nature works in cycles. In an area that was full of bucks, more than we could count, that was pretty quiet. So it just, things change, and that's just the way it goes. So it was very interesting. And one of the other observations I made was just how much things have grown in. And this is back in 2017, I think, that this episode was recorded. Now it's even thicker. So I was up there with my Weimaraner Earl. I've kept Weimaraners in the family, and goddamn, it was difficult. But anyways, it really got me thinking about this first buck, which made me think about this episode. I haven't listened to it in God knows how long, probably since we recorded it. And it was really fun to listen back. And I realized how important this hunt was and how it changed the way I approach mule deer hunting in particular. And, this hunt and everything that led up to this, getting this 4-point, I replay all of the mistakes that I made in each trip, which you'll hear about, how we went up to the spot many, many times and fucked it up and went back and tried it again, and eventually sort of figured out what all those mistakes were and made it happen. And so every time I go somewhere new, I remind myself to slow down and not assume that there's nothing there. Don't, blow a stock just by, skylining yourself at the top of a peak after you just hiked all the way up there. So anyways, this hunt was transformative. There's lots of good takeaways for any of you new hunters in here. And there are some interesting things that we talked about in this. that I'm going to circle back on at the end of the episode. So you'll hear the old theme music come in at the end. Hang out, and I'm going to do a quick little recap on some of the things that we talked about. So enjoy this one. I'm going to call these this little series "Lessons from the Past." I'm going to dig out a few more from this year because it was our most successful season ever. So I think I'll do a little mini series and replay some of these old episodes that are going back like probably 8 years ago now, I guess. Anyways, so let's get into it. Sit back, relax, crack an ice cold beer, and enjoy this episode from the vault, episode 183. Before we get into our experience from last week, as we mentioned,
you have to keep it to 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. There's not really that much to it, but we'll keep it to that. So as we mentioned, we're getting ready to take off on our hunting trip here in the Kootenays. It's going to be a bit of a higher elevation hunt than what we're used to, and probably some cooler weather. Kel, what we've got opportunities for mule deer. I think it's
any buck October 10th, I think.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
And there's also
this is all stuff that we will double check before we
exactly.
get in the truck.
Don't worry. We got the Hunt Buddy app. Whitetail deer, bucks, and then it switches to antlerless while we're out there too.
I think that's October 10th too.
Yeah, nice. And then black bear is a possibility. Apparently,
yeah, we still have our tags.
Yeah. Mountain goat.
Bought a mountain goat tag yesterday.
Yeah, and spike fork bull moose.
You guys have tags for that, right?
I still got to pick one up. I'm going to go get a goat and a moose tomorrow. I'm wondering if I should get another mule deer tag too. Probably should. Gets expensive, but
yeah.
What else? And then 6-point elk.
Mm-hmm. That's really what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
It's October, and we haven't really elk hunted before, but I know that the behavior from September to October, there is pretty radical change from what I hear. So the crux of one of the articles I was reading is basically imagine you were an elk in September and you were now sick of running around, getting pressured, rutting and doing all this stuff. Like you're probably going to move back to your thicker cover with some water and food, and the bigger bulls might break away from the groups and just kind of hang out, whereas these satellite bulls will kind of move in because they were getting pushed around the whole time.
Right.
So I don't know, it might be, you never know what we'll stumble onto, but I think I was just trying to get a sense of, okay, it's October, so I don't want to go out there and treat this like it's a September bull hunt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens when we get out there. I think we're kind of open to whatever the sign shows. Yeah.
I'm kind of excited about the idea of a mountain goat.
Yeah, that I'm pretty excited about too. That one, I think they're easy to see, right? They're bright white, and we have 2 spotting scopes.
Yeah.
I think that one is going to be like, we just keep an eye on the peaks and the high elevate, like the cliff faces. If we see something, that would be like a throwaway day. Like, okay, we see a goat, let's go get it.
Yeah.
And everything else kind of goes by the wayside, because I think you got to go 100% if you're going to try to get a goat. A lot of the stories I hear are of guys that spot a goat and they'll hike up there, and then they're waiting for 4 to 5 hours for the goat to stand up from the bed and move to a safe place to shoot it, right? So I think it's very involved, but who knows? Maybe, I mean, I see mountain goat driving a Penticton right on the side of the highway, so we'll see what the terrain looks like.
For sure. Yeah, so it's going to be pretty interesting. I'm just going to open up the weather. It's been changing like crazy. Have you been watching it?
I try not to look at it.
Oh, man. The latest is not that promising, but that was last night, the last time I checked. So Friday, our day Oh, it's better. It was saying snow before. Light rain on Friday, light rain on Saturday, Sunday light rain. Monday rain up to 10 millimeters. Tuesday sun and clouds. So we'll see. But man, it's changing rapidly. Like it was looking horrible when I looked last night. So it's one of those things. I think it's, especially when you get into mountainous regions like that, you're kind of probably going day to day sometimes as far as weather. So gonna have to be prepared as much as possible. So anyways, that doesn't look too bad. If it's a little bit of rain here and there, then whatever.
Probably better for hunting anyways.
Yeah.
I have a sill tarp that I'm going to bring my trekking poles just for the sake of
I'm bringing
pitching
mine
that
after
tarp.
the last experience.
Yeah. So it's got rivets where you can stick the poles through them, right?
Sweet.
And then you just like little paracord and boom, you set up a little
Genius.
6-8 foot, well, maybe 6 foot tarp, super lightweight, weighs nothing.
Yeah.
And then you just sit under there and glass, set up your spotting scope and all that.
Sounds good.
That's
to
my
me.
plan. If it starts raining,
I'm going to hunt with you on the raining days. So. Cool. Anything else you're looking forward to with this trip?
I have hunted kind of in that area, not quite as northeast, but it's just very cool. It's so much different than here. Like it's the thick forest and
steep mountains,
alpine and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just stoked to get out into that type of environment. And yeah, I don't know, just see what happens.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And of course, camp is going to be fun too. And
yeah, that's fun. We've got a wall tent set up with stove and all that kind of stuff that we're going to be working with.
So it's, I like roughing it and being out there, but on the other hand, I'm not going to complain about having a nice, comfortable camp to come back to and kick my feet up and have a good sleep. And because we're going to be putting in a lot of kilometers, so to have something nice to come back to is going to be great, and to cook a good meal. So
for sure.
Sweet.
And we're right on we're right there in the hunting area, right? It's not like we have to travel.
No.
We're right there, and there's going to be a lot of hiking involved regardless.
For sure.
Like literally from 2,000 feet to 7,000 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what it's going to be like up there. I have a feeling it's already snowing up there. So
yeah, I'm curious because I think I bet there has been snow and maybe we'll see snow. I don't think it's stuck yet, but I'm guarantee, or I think you saw a photo that there had already been a skiff of snow up there. So
yeah, and it snowed on the Penasque summit on the connector a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, actually, when we went to Vancouver, when was that? At the beginning of September, there was actually snow up there. Crazy.
And that's I'm just using that as a reference for height. I think it's about 5,500 feet.
Yeah, so snow is definitely a possibility, but hopefully it's not an obstacle. I don't think it will be. So
yeah.
But if there, like we were saying last night, if there is snow on the ground, we'll just use it to our advantage to find fresh tracks and whatever.
Yep.
Deal with whatever we got. It's like we said, it's October 5th, and I think it's 20 degrees out in Kelowna right now. It's ridiculous, man. So yeah, it's going to be kind of nice to get into the colder fall weather. Needless to say, I'm fucking excited. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Bringing a fishing rod too.
Yeah. Excellent.
So
cool.
Yeah.
All right. You want to ask me some questions? How do you want to do this?
Yeah. So I guess we've released a couple episodes now where we've been going to this spot and we've been giving updates. So I think we had like 3 or 4 updates that were all kind of mashed into a couple episodes there. And Mike had an opportunity to go out, similar scenario. And I guess we kind of, where we started with this spot was Google Earth. And we'd been hunting whitetail for the last couple seasons, mainly.
Yeah, the spot that we were in was sort of split between mule deer and whitetail, but seeing less. Like I'd see a lot of muley does in our spot, and not too many muley bucks in there. And we did see some whitetail bucks, but they're so fast to spook that it was difficult hunting in there.
Yeah.
The nice thing about that spot was that it was really close to your house. We're going a bit more out of our way now for this new one, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think with experience, you start just subconsciously realizing what to look for, whether it's Google Maps or whatever, even real time.
Yeah.
But so without giving away, I don't want to go into too much detail, but like, where's the water? Are there kind of mountains or hills in that region? Are there saddles? You start picturing this stuff a little bit more. So we chose 3 spots, and that's kind of where this started. And then we started going out there, and that's when we were doing all those updates. And if you pay attention to those updates, it was saw 8 mule deer
The very
bucks.
first time that we went there.
Yeah. The next day, like 15 deer, half of them were bucks. And so we were seeing deer. We actually had a chance at a 4-point
Yeah.
a couple times.
Yeah.
So that progressed over the amount of, 4 weeks or so, right?
Mm-hmm.
September 10th, well, 3 weeks anyway. So
Yeah.
a lot of work of going back into the spot, a lot of dedication. And then what day was it when you were out there?
It was
before October.
Tuesday. So that would have been September 27th is when it happened.
Yeah. So maybe just walk us through
Sure.
your day.
Well, I think like going back to this new spot and sort of being more motivated towards mule deer this year, each time we went up there, I think we would learn something new, and we would get a sharper eye of where to be looking. And I don't know if it was just a complete fluke that we decided to hike that one mountain and came across those ones, and it was just a complete honey hole of.
Well, that was the mountain that I had a big X on.
Exactly,
On Google
yeah.
Earth, right?
But it's funny, it's just like, maybe if we had it, like it was sort of just
Yeah.
a shot just to see, like, I don't know, let's go up there and see what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, looking at Google Earth is a key thing, because you already had an idea of how, the terrain funneled through there and
Yeah.
everything like that. And
But yeah, you're right. Like the fact that we did see those 8 deer up there the first day,
yeah,
had we not seen them, maybe we would never went back
exactly.
there, right?
Yeah.
So
Again, it's like it comes back to luck, I think, a little bit with hunting. But as we repeatedly went to this spot, we kept seeing those bucks, and there was one that we could sort of identify, that 3-point that we keep talking about.
yeah, that's a nice deer.
We saw him a few times, right? So we were pretty sure that we kept seeing these same bucks more or less. And
the trails, like the first day we saw them,
Yeah.
when we had a chance at the 4-point twice.
mm-hmm.
I think the best thing about that experience, even though it was extremely frustrating at the time,
yeah,
was that we followed those deer of over 2 ridges and
yeah,
basically learned their entire trail system by
Totally.
following them and
Yeah.
spooking them, right?
yeah.
So
So it's pretty crazy. So I think we gained an advantage each time that we went up there. So you and I went, how many times did we get out together up there? 3 times? Yeah, I think it was 3.
yeah.
And then I went a couple of times, once on my own, and then the second time on my own, which was the last time I was up there.
Yeah.
So each time we went, it was sort of refining, like, okay, what mistakes did we make last time? Sometimes that was just coming up over a ridge too quickly, or just assuming that there wasn't any deer around, because what we've learned is that they're usually like right in front of you. And by the time you notice them, they've already spotted you and they're getting out of there. So
That was my biggest lesson out of this whole month, was if you're mule deer hunting and you see a mule deer, just sit there for even an hour. Like just sit there, because there will be another mule deer,
yeah,
and it could be a 4-point.
totally.
And more than likely, there's probably 8 other deer that you can't see that are close, right?
Yeah.
So it just seemed like every time it's like, oh, there's a deer. Oh no, it's not a buck. And we keep walking and all of a sudden 8 deer would run away. So we stopped doing that.
Yeah.
And then I think it happened the last time I came out with you there, that evening hunt. And we saw that deer at the end of the road.
Right.
And we're like, okay, there's a doe right there. She knows we're here. So we just kind of slid into the bush and said, okay, we're going to sit here and wait for whatever, how long it took.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, there's a 2-point buck with them that showed up like 40 minutes later.
Yeah. And there was the 2 fawns and they were kind of playing on the road, but the buck was not aware that we were there. And the doe and the fawn, the fawns, they knew, but they're not as smart as a buck would be. And you know what I mean? So yeah, it's good to be patient because we were sort of antsy to get moving up to where we wanted to be. But at the same time, it's like, well, just put your seatbelt on for a second and wait and see what happens because every time, man, it's always when you think like, no, that's it for deer. There's nothing there. There's always something there. So,
yeah. And just to clarify, in our area, until October 1st, you could only shoot a 4-point mule deer.
Yeah.
So that's, this is the period we're talking about. We could only shoot a 4-point during this time.
And so with all these trips that we went, we'd only seen the 1 4-point, which I'm pretty sure was probably the only one and the one that we kept seeing. So out of that group of 8, there was only the 1 legal 4-point in the group. So yeah, with all that said, I had all that knowledge and everything we learned in the back of my mind as I went up for this hunt. And I got up there, I'm trying to think of when sunrise was, but I think it might have been like 6:32 or something was sunrise. So I got up there, I think it was about 20 to 6 when I pulled up to the trailhead and had myself ready and I was feeling pretty confident about that just because every time we went up to the top of this mountain, we were always seeing these bucks. So the plan was to try and get up there with as little light as possible. And as I got to the top, it would have been legal shooting time. So I got up there a little bit later than I had expected. But this time, and I had the dog with me too on a leash. You're allowed to have a dog with you, but they have to be on leash. So that adds extra, I don't know, it's just a bit of a pain, but he's pretty good. But when you're trailblazing and trying to get over top of dead logs and stuff like that, it makes things a little bit more difficult. But
what kind of dog? Just so everyone.
Weimaraner, which if you know the breed, you're probably laughing. You know, he's actually really good when he's with me, but when there's a group of people or if we're in the truck, he gets super excited and can be pretty annoying, but he's actually not a bad hunting dog. So anyways, he was with me and it was good. It was just a pain in the ass trying to be quiet and getting up to the top of this ridge without making too much noise. So anyways, we crawled our way up there, and as you get to the top of the mountain, there's this, it's almost like a circle around that whole peak of alder brush. Like you have to smash your way through it. Like there's no way around it. So that's always fun to try and get through. But once you get through that stuff, you're almost at the peak of the mountain. So once I got through that stuff, I just started to crawl up there very, very slowly. And I knew that there was this little spot that I could sort of crawl up to and be hidden behind. So there's a bit of a ledge that drops down right before you're at the top of the peak. And I crawled up to that, dropped my pack down, got out my spotting scope, and got everything set up without even popping my head up to look across to the next peak. So there's a little valley that goes down to the next peak, which is a little bit higher than this one. So got to that point knowing that there was most likely going to be bucks at least coming down to that area or at some point or whatever. So because we had spooked them so many times, I didn't want to blow it because I'd blown it too many times basically. So got all that stuff ready, popped my head up, set up the spotting scope, and then had my binoculars and started glassing with my binoculars. Almost instantly, there's, I think I sent you a photo, there was 6 deer and one was a doe. So I started watching them for quite a while, just being excited. But it was all either spikes or 2 points. I don't even think there was a 3-point in that group, but still exciting to see them. And again, they're like wrestling with each other and locking antlers, and really cool to see them. So watch them for, I always lose track of time, but it was at least an hour that I watched them. And the nice thing of spotting them and being in a good position is that this time they had absolutely no idea that I was there. So anyways, they traveled down into that little valley there that they seemed to travel through and disappeared. And I think they went down to that bedding area that we've kind of walked through before. I don't know where they went, but they disappeared anyways. So once I was certain that there was nothing else on the I don't know, it's the south facing or north facing side of that mountain, I packed everything up and then went. I have trouble sort of just trying to describe how this mountain is, but how would you say? So there's the top part of it, and it kind of slopes down a little bit to a smaller little peak. It's all very close.
There's like a little bench on the other side of that mountain.
Yeah. So I stayed on that same mountain, but there's a little, so there's the peak of it, and it sort of slopes down into a little dip, and then there's another little peak on it that's a little bit lower. It's all very close. So what I decided to do was head back down the north facing side of the mountain and then crawl back up through that little tiny area, and then set myself up in some sort of alders and stuff like that where I could start glassing again. So I slowly creep through there. But again, I was almost thinking like, there's nothing over there. I've already glassed the whole mountain. Sure enough, as I'm walking, I hear a crack like right across the valley from me, which would have been only 100 yards or something like that. And there's our good friend, the 3-point, staring at me. I'm like, oh, shit.
He's the leader, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure too. So I'm like, oh, okay, I hope I didn't just blow this. But he was the only one that I saw. So he was keeping an eye on me. So I sort of just creeped forward. There were some young pine trees that were growing there, and I found a nice little area where it was almost like a perfect little circle where I could sit down. They were just short enough, these bushes, that I could sit down and sort of be hidden well enough and to glass that same face again. So he disappeared into the trees, went up to the top of that peak, and then there was actually there was 2 more bucks with them, but all of them, there was another 2-point and a spike with them. So all 3 of them weren't legal anyway. So I was like, okay, not a big deal. So watch them take off and thought, whatever, there's probably going to be more coming. So I was set up in a great spot and was just sitting there kind of relaxing, just glassing some more. And all of a sudden I hear this cracking like right below me, probably 30 yards away, but I couldn't see what was going on. So just sat there super still, and Oscar, I was watching him and he could hear them too, which is kind of cool, is just to have, obviously he can hear much better than us and try and watch where he's looking and get a sense of what's going on down there. So I heard a couple cracks. I thought, whatever, there's dead brush up here. There was a bit of wind, so I thought it could have just been a branch or something like that, and just kept waiting. And then 10 minutes later, I hear it again. And then all of a sudden, these 2 bucks appear right below me. And again, they're locking antlers and kind of wrestling around a little bit. So one of them, again, was another 2-point. And the other one, I was quite sure was a 4-point. So immediately got pretty excited. Got the binos on him. And he was moving around quite a bit. And these young pines that were growing, he was kind of going in and out of them. So I'd catch him, and then he would disappear. And then he ended up actually bedding down in there. And at this point, this is probably only 60 yards away from me or something like that. So I knew where he was. I grabbed the spotting scope, and I was actually just holding it in my hand, but wanted to get in there with the 40 times just so I could make sure I could count all those points on there. Because even at that point, I was like 90% sure that it was a 4-point, but again, like that uncertainty always kind of messes with your head a little bit. And I wanted to be like 100% sure, because the last thing you want to do is shoot at something and walk up to it to find out that it wasn't legal. Would be a terrifying situation to be in, because no one wants to do that. So again, I'm kind of unsure of the timeline and how long I was watching these guys, but it was probably a good 45 minutes or something like that since I first spotted them, and then watched him bed down. But so the second buck, the 2-point, he ended up going back down that little valley somewhere. I didn't see where he ended up, but the 4-point hung around, like I said, bedded down, and then he got up and started to run. And I think he was getting rowdy because the other guy was down there and they were going to start wrestling with each other again. So he ran up to sort of the peak of the mountain. So at this point, we're probably still within 80 yards or something like that. And I knew it was that 4-point just because you could easily distinguish between the 2 and the 4, but still had like a touch of uncertainty, but enough confidence that I knew I had to take this shot or I was going to lose this chance, and maybe this would be the only chance that I got throughout the whole season. We've been there before, you know what I mean? And didn't want to miss out. So I had my monopod set up. The nice thing about watching these guys for a while was that like I was set up really well with the monopod, and it was actually just resting it on there. I kind of had it pointed in the right direction, and also had my binos to kind of keep an eye on it and then get the scope on them. And then when I had the opportunity, took a shot, and then he ran. And I'm like, oh my God, did I miss? But the weird thing is like, he started running back and forth. So he ran down behind the peak a little bit, disappeared, but then came running back up again. And I thought maybe he didn't even pay attention to the shot and was still sort of like kind of in that rut behavior of being kind of frisky in that, because that's what he was doing before. And then, so I started to panic thinking, oh man, I missed him. Fired another shot, and he was on the move at that point, and I hit him actually in the back leg with the second shot. So I saw him go down at that point, and then got up again and went back down behind the peak again. So I was sort of nervous about, oh shit, maybe I just wounded him or whatever. And I know my instinct was telling me to stop and wait, but just based on our first experience when we grazed that buck in our first season, I didn't want him to sort of run away and be wounded. I just didn't want to relive that whole scenario. So I got over the other side of the peak, and I saw him sort of flopping around a little bit, and I could actually see there was a bullet hole right in front of his front left leg, basically. Right
behind it?
It was actually in front. So when I shot, I got it right in front of it. And as I came over, there was blood and stuff everywhere. So I guess it's just the strength of some of those bucks and the adrenaline that I hit him with that first shot, but he just continued to run. And then that second shot took his back leg out of commission there. Yeah. And he ended up just dropping 20 yards from when the first shot would have hit him, and he landed between 2 logs there. So at that point, he had already spotted me, and I knew he was down for the count. Like I could see him trying to kick a little bit and get up again, but just ran out of gas. So I walked up to him and could tell he was pretty much done, had another bullet in the chamber ready to go just in case he wasn't quite done. But as I got up to him, I kind of knelt down next to him and put my hand on him, and he just like let out his last breath, which was pretty intense to witness and to be next to it when it was still alive like that. So I thought I fucking blew this whole opportunity, but it turned out the first shot was good. I wish I hadn't taken that second one, because it fucked up some of the meat and the.
It actually not as bad as you'd expect, which is kind of weird.
Yeah,
it did. We did lose a little bit of meat on it, but it seemed to hit the one leg right in the middle, and it split the main leg bone.
It was weird, man,
and
because
it didn't, like, you could still cut the roast around the bone, but it didn't really.
it almost seems like it bounced funny or something, because the wound on him on the back leg was lower down, but we found the bullet higher up. So I don't know if it was while he was running, he was just on a bit of an angle or something like that. But anyways,
well, it definitely hit that bone dead on, because it splintered it into about 10 pieces.
Smashed it. So we didn't lose a whole lot of meat. There was a little bit of, that it sort of turns gelatinous. It's kind of gross, but there wasn't a whole lot that we had to cut off. So anyways, this thing is down, and the first thing that goes through your head is, holy shit, like, now what?
What are you going to do now?
Yeah. So
I'm at work, by the way.
Yeah, Kelly is at work, and the nice thing is I took some photos, so I have a pretty good idea of the timeline. So I fired the shot just before 10 o'clock, and then basically I had dropped all my pack and everything to run down and see what had happened to the deer. So I knew he was dead. So I had to run back to where I was set up originally, gather up all my gear. And then while I was doing that, I sent a text to Kelly with a picture of the deer saying, "Hey, any chance you can skip out of work early?" And I never heard back from you. So I'm like, oh shit. Then I phoned you and I'm like, "Hey man, did you get that photo I sent you?" You're like, "Yeah, the one with all the $6 or whatever." And I'm like, "No, the one with the dead 4-point." You're like, "Oh shit." And you sounded as shocked as kind of I was that this whole situation was going down.
Oh yeah. And it was actually, it was just
a hectic day for you.
Hectic day at work too. So,
yeah.
I mean, I actually couldn't even get out of there. I had to wait till kind of the afternoon by the time I could get there.
Yeah. So it was tricky, because I called you and you're like, "Oh man, this is like the worst day. And I've also made plans to go and help these guys sight in their rifles after work." And I'm like,
they all understood. No issues.
So like, "Do you think you could phone them or send them a photo and say, "Hey, I've got some work to do"? You're like, "Oh, I'll see what I could do," because you didn't want to bail on the guys. But still, like, you were just getting all this info at once. And I think it was kind of all hitting you like, shit, what's going on up there?
Yeah.
And then, so I was thinking like, fuck, Kelly can't come and help me out. So I called Landon, our other buddy, and he was at work. So another one down. And then I was trying to think like Landon's truck was available, but I would have needed somebody to go and get it. But nobody was available. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh man, okay, whatever. I'm just going to start getting to work on this thing, because it was starting to get hot. And Kelly had kept talking about using the gutless method.
Yeah, and I've been pushing a lot of those videos out.
Yeah, luckily you had, because in this type of situation, there's no way we could have gutted the deer and packed it out. The only way to do it would be, well, you could still gut it, but it seems pointless, right?
Yeah.
What's the point of gutting?
Well, I mean, sometimes it's easier to get more meat if you gut it, but you can also get the neck and the rib and the tenderloin and everything by not gutting it too. So, and I think the other key thing was, because we're going to be elk hunting and moose hunting and all this stuff, I think we agreed that regardless of where we get our next deer, we're going to try the gutless method on it just to get some practice, right?
Yeah.
So this was perfect.
Yeah. I was the guinea pig.
Yeah.
But it worked out really well. So the buck was on its side. He was kind of wedged in between these dead logs, and I was able to kind of push the logs out of the way a little bit so that he was kind of leaning up against them. So it was a bit of a steep hill. It wasn't like the ideal location, but when is it ever going to be ideal, really? So took the knife along the top of the spine and stuff like that, and got it all open. It starts to peel apart really easily, and you start to reveal all the muscle groups and all that kind of stuff there. So the first one, I pulled off the quarter off the front. There's actually no bone to attach it, so that one was really easy to pull off, and things were moving along pretty quick. I got to the hind quarter. That one's a bit more challenging to work with, because you got to get in there and find the ball joint and all that stuff, but got that one off. Moved to I should have done the back straps first, but didn't really matter that much. So got in there, pulled the first one off. No problem. That was pretty exciting to see the size of this back strap compared to the whitetail that we had got last year. And even the quarters were just, the weight of them was pretty intense, like just in comparison. So got all that stuff, got in there, got the tenderloins. That's a bit of a risky one because you're pretty close to all the guts and stuff like that. But it was also nice because I would just call Kelly and put him on speakerphone. And if I ever needed to reference anything, I'm like, hey, what should I do next? And Kelly remembered and kind of guided me through some of the stuff. And that's the one thing about being by yourself is like, it's good to have somebody to bounce things off of when you're unsure, because usually you're right maybe and what you think you should be doing, but to have somebody confirm it for you is nice so that you can keep going. So anyways, while I'm out there pulling this deer apart, Kelly was able to swing it, so he worked through lunch and then headed out. What time did you get out of work at?
I can't remember. I think I was up at the trailhead around 1:30.
Yeah. So
and then I literally trail ran up the road as fast as I could. Almost killed myself.
Yeah. So I don't know how long it actually took me to quarter this thing up and pack it up, but it was, I don't know, hour and a half probably. And then I didn't have game bags, but I always brought this big sheet with me, like a bed sheet. So I cut that up and wrapped everything up in that. It seemed okay.
Yeah.
Left the bone in everything. And
I think game bags are probably best.
I went and bought some. Yeah.
Just because they'll keep, when you cinch them down, you know that there's no flies and stuff that you're going to get on, right?
Yeah. So I'll backtrack a little bit. What I did was I laid this sheet out on these rocks, and the rocks were actually still quite cool. So I would basically pull a chunk of meat up off the deer, bring it over, lay it down on the sheet, which was on the cold rocks, and then lay the top of the sheet down over top of it. So it was able to keep it covered the whole time in that, which was nice. And then once I had all the meat off, I started to cut it up into those pieces and made my own bags with it basically. And what I did was I needed to get it out fast because I think it ended up getting up to like 20 degrees that day. So by the time I had everything ready to rock, I think it was about 12 o'clock. So from when I shot it to when I had it in the backpack, it was already noon by that point and getting into the heat of the day. So I was starting to get pretty worried about, the meat spoiling, and decided to dump everything out of my backpack, everything I brought up there with me, and jammed all of the meat into this backpack, which we weighed later was probably over 100 pounds, and then plus the head, which was another 15 or something. So that, and then I brought my rifle out with me, so there's the weight of that. So I ended up with the biggest pack load I've ever had. Some guys might say that's not much, but it was a crippling amount of weight.
I think it's as much as anybody would want to deal with.
I don't think you would want to do much more. And when I actually had to get the pack set up and get downhill from it, put the straps on, and like use my trekking poles to get up off the ground. Like that was the hardest part, was to like actually physically get yourself up and straight. And then felt the weight on my back. I'm like, okay, this is too much, but I can just tough it out and do this because I have no other choice. So
this is all bone in,
yeah. So that adds a lot of extra weight. And then started to head down and try to be very careful. And unfortunately, I didn't realize that where I had shot the deer, I was a little bit lower than where I thought, because we sort of have a route that you and I were following up before that would lead us out to the trail quite easily, following game trails and stuff like that. I ended up being lower and getting into all this thick brush at the bottom. And it was kind of a nightmare. Like I just like, man, it's one of those situations where you're like, you think the trail's almost there, but it's not there. And then you keep going and you can feel the weight of your pack. And it's just like, you just want it to be over. It's kind of an uncomfortable, shitty situation. And at one point, I knew that I had to be careful with my footing and stuff like that. But I got up on this log, and the weight sort of shifted to my left, which was downhill, and I bailed. I fell right over onto my side and smashed up my arm pretty good, and then was like stuck laying on the ground because I was laying downhill with the pack strapped to me and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I had to unbuckle, like leave the pack, like get up off the ground, set this thing up, like get it elevated off the ground onto a higher log, and then strap it on again. And the only thing that kept me going was knowing that Kelly was probably already hiking up to meet me at that point. So I was exhausted by the time I finally got out of bushwhacking and onto the trail, and I was probably hiking like, 50 feet at a time, and then just having to stop to get the weight off my back for a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and then just continuing on. So it felt like it was taking forever. And then finally at like the 2 kilometers, there's like 2 kilometers left in the trail, and that's right where I finally met up with you and transferred the meat into some of it into your backpack, and
Mm-hmm.
things were much easier from that point on. But man, was I ever happy to see you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could tell by the look on my face, but I was bagged,
Yeah.
just mentally and physically exhausted from that whole ordeal.
Yeah. You looked kind of like a 80-year-old man walking with those poles.
Totally, because I was trying to like lean forward and put the weight a bit more on my
Yeah.
back, and I also had the head too on my hand, and so it was just like uncomfortable. But so that was great, and you had the opportunity to run home and grab a cooler and some ice packs and all that stuff. Got it into the coolers, and then Kelly took off with it back to the house.
Yeah, I threw everything directly into the freezer,
Yeah.
and then I realized later that it actually heated up my freezer a little bit.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that's just a note for people. Like it doesn't have to be hot meat. If you put meat in your freezer that's a little bit warm and you put that much of it in there, it might defrost your freezer a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it gets cold fast. But,
Yeah. It's interesting.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so while Kelly was doing that, I had to hike back up again, which is like the last thing I wanted to do. Even Oscar was like, "Are you kidding me, man? We got to go back up there." He was not too happy about it. But anyways, got up, got all my stuff that I had left behind. And by that point, when I got back up to the carcass, there was already those turkey vultures and ravens and all this shit was already moving in. And interesting to see that they had already started to pull that thing apart. And I'm sure it's long gone by this point, a week later.
Mm-hmm.
Probably just bones left.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty interesting, man. So I got down and into my vehicle. I ended up going home to drop the dog off and grab a bite to eat, and I don't know what else I did. And then
Meanwhile, I was dealing with the skull.
right.
I just figured like it's the first actual buck, right? So I think I figured, well, I'm just going to let all that meat cool down in the freezer. But in the meantime, I have this deer skull, and we're not going to do an actual mount or anything, but
No.
instead of just cutting the antlers off, I figured, why don't we try to do a European mount style thing? Because regardless of the size of the antlers, that type of mount really does look cool regardless.
It does.
So it's another one of those situations, and maybe this will help the guys that aren't sure, like that are getting into hunting, saying, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that gutting or field dressing and all that stuff. I'd never cut the hide off of a animal skull or done any of that stuff before. You got to deal with the lower jaw and the tongue and the eyes and all that kind of stuff. But when you're in the moment and you're looking at this thing, there's just a point where you're like, you have to start with the first cut, and then all of a sudden you look at it and it's done.
Yeah.
Like that's the only way I can explain it. I don't know how I got there, but you will get there.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to do it a different way, but at the end of the day, if you put enough time in, there's only so much stuff to cut off, right?
Mm-hmm. That's the exact same way I feel with like attempting the gutless method on my own there. It's just like, all right, here we go. Let's see what happens. And maybe you might not do it the right way, but you're going to get it done no matter, like in the end somehow, right?
Yeah.
You're going to figure it out. It might take you a little bit longer, but
Yeah.
it's intimidating, but it's not impossible, right?
Yeah. And I don't know, it's all good learning. I find it interesting, actually. Like I don't try to think too much about it, that it's gross or that you're actually like touching the eyes and all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of cool. Like I don't know, a lot of people have dissected things in middle school and high school and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's a good learning experience, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the skull goes, I've actually read some articles that say that you shouldn't remove the hide and stuff until you're actually ready to deal with it and put it in the solution for bleaching or whatever. I've heard that people use bleach for that. I've been listening. There's a White Bone Productions. If you go to YouTube, he does a lot of videos on this stuff. He actually says not to use bleach, but to use like a peroxide. So there's different ways to go about it. That's a little bit of a side story. Maybe we could talk more about that when we actually
finish it off. Yeah.
But
yeah, I appreciate you doing that. It was kind of cool when I called you or when you texted me or something like, yeah, it's your first deer. So I figured I might as well start pulling. I didn't even expect you to be doing that. Like I didn't
know what else to do. I couldn't do anything with the meat. It was still a little warm. So.
Yeah. So anyways, appreciate you doing that, but we got to finish it off, and it'll be cool to maybe put it on a nice piece of wood or something like that, like mount it. And
for sure.
I was picking out spots in your house for it, but Bree was like, that can go to your house. I still think we should line up your garage with all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's whatever you want to do with it. The garage is, she has the house and I have the garage.
We're taking over the garage. Yeah.
She can't say anything about the garage.
Cool to have all of our stuff in there. But
yeah. I don't know if people have seen Randy Newberg's videos. He does shop tours.
Yeah.
And the whole one wall is elk and the whole other wall is whitetail. And again, we're not trophy hunters by any means, but if you're going to be a meat hunter, this other piece is still kind of it's a bonus almost, right?
It's like a photograph, man. It's just like a reminder of that event.
Yeah, it's more of a memorabilia story type.
And what happens to it otherwise? You just throw it out. So
and it's for us. Like it's not like we're going to be inviting people in to say, hey, look at this. I could care less if anybody sees it. It's more just for us.
It'll just be nice to glance up at it, even like 20, 30 years from now when we're still hunting, be like, yeah, remember that? Yeah. Like that's our first buck right there. So it's cool, man. It's a nice thing to have. And so anyways, that's cool. Where did we go from there? So by the time I had got back to your place, it had cooled down pretty good and you were already pulling it out of the freezer.
Mm-hmm.
And you had the tables set up, you had the saran wrap and the wax paper, everything all ready to go, which was sweet. So we just started separating all the muscle groups and all that stuff, which we were somewhat familiar with from the whitetail. So that
part's actually pretty easy.
I don't
it's
mind
just
it,
that it takes so long.
It does.
And it's most of you can cut it up pretty quickly if you're not fussy.
Yeah.
But I think we like to make sure that we're cutting it up into the bulk pieces, and then we're cleaning off the silver skin.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're cleaning off any hair and dirt or whatever.
Yeah.
And by the time you get through all that, it's a good...
I think I left your house at 11 o'clock, man.
Yeah, 4 or 5 hours, probably. 4 hours.
Yeah. So, some guys prefer to just drop it off at a butcher, but the more I hear, and not that those guys don't do a good job, but they have to do these things in a timely manner. And I think you're going to end up with more meat when you do it yourself. It's going to be a bit more care, potentially, maybe. I don't, it depends if you know the person that's doing it for you, but I think it's different when it's your animal, and I would just prefer to do it myself. It's a lot of work. You don't need any special tools to do it or anything like that. Yeah. So it's very doable.
If depending on the animal, like if you have an elk or a moose, I don't know. I would have to reevaluate it when I see just how big it is. Moose, I'm a little worried about. An elk, I'm sure we could, and we're going to be splitting it multiple ways, right? So with 2 guys, a buck is still a lot of work. If you have 4 guys that are splitting up an elk, then that's fine.
I almost wonder, like it could go either way, but I wonder if those bigger animals, if those muscle groups are more defined and easier to cut away, or
Yeah, I don't know.
or if it's more difficult. I don't know.
I imagine in my mind, I see it being exactly the same, but just times
Yeah.
4
Yeah.
or whatever.
So, yeah, I think it'd be worth it for us, like whatever animal it is, a bigger one, to attempt it on our own the first time. And, you know, if it's something we do and think maybe next time we'll not bother we'll just take it to somebody. But I think
or
you and
maybe
I,
certain pieces or
Yeah,
whatever. Like
yeah.
like I said, I don't really know. I just have a feeling that
the other thing is too, is like we can separate everything and package it all and then, you know, take some of it to be processed in a certain way. Cause I think we can do all that other work, but it's just if we want to get certain things made up or something like that, then that's when we would bring it in. But so far, you know, I'm enjoying doing it all on our own. And
Yep.
at some point we might want to get a bigger grinder, but there's nothing wrong with just doing small batches anyways. Right. So,
Yeah, I think we should get a bunch of that trim ground up, and then we put them in those little white sausagey looking bags with the twist tie on the top.
Yeah.
I think Steve Ranella has those in his book. Throw it in lasagna or pasta or whatever you're doing.
yeah, that's
Hamburgers.
what, to have it handy, because if you've got it ground up, and we'll probably throw a little bit of pork fat in there or
Yeah.
whatever, and then it's ready to roll up and, like you said, meatballs, or throw it into lasagna, or make burgers, or
Yeah.
it just makes it more
Do your
convenient.
tacos.
Yeah, exactly. Just like so many things. I can't wait to start eating it. And it was only a week ago, and I just haven't had a chance to. We've both been busy, so
Yep.
when we get back, we'll have to grind that up and start eating it. But
I think that we might need to get a different grinder. Just like, can you imagine if we got an elk or something
Oh, man.
in this next trip?
yeah,
Like, if you have and I have a doe coming up, which, knock on wood, I'm pretty sure that's going to happen.
yeah, that or a buck, man. Like,
Yeah, so whatever, like I'll trade in my LEH for a big buck if it
Yeah.
walks by, but that LEH is kind of like it's the end of October, haven't got a buck, I'm just going to take a doe, because really it's for food.
yeah,
But if you start getting successful in your hunting seasons, you start to wish you had a bigger grinder with some power behind it
Yeah.
and just run it nonstop, right?
Oh man, it's pretty exciting that we to have this buck in the freezer already at early part of the season feels really good, especially knowing that you've got that doe tag, and we're gonna have a good year. You know what I mean? And we're going to this trip this weekend, and I'm just gonna put my expectations at coming home with nothing. But if we get another animal, then it's gonna be a good year for us, and I want to have enough meat that sustains you and I to next season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without having to sort of save it and ration it and stuff like that. Just to have a sheer amount of meat that's going to hold us over and keep us from having to go to the grocery store. And that's the goal. So we're off to a good start, and yeah, I'm feeling good.
Yep. For sure. I think we may have to split grinder. I mean,
Yeah.
you have one that worked for the last year. If we do it in pieces like you're going to do, that's fine too.
Yeah,
right?
we'll do a little bit, but yeah, you're right. If we want to do more, and like I would like to try doing some, like smoking some sausages. Like I think I want to
Pepperoni.
really use this deer to experiment a bit more and try some new
Yeah.
methods with the whitetail doe that we got last year. There wasn't enough meat to get creative, and you know what I mean, and try different stuff. But we've got enough now, and expect to have more. So
Yep.
yeah,
I was reading, actually, no, I wasn't reading. I was out previous hunt with my father-in-law there, and his friends were out there, and they have a wood stove at their camp,
yeah.
and they were making wood fire pizza, mule deer wood fire pizza,
Oh, that sounds good,
which
man.
is sweet.
I should ask Garrett what he has, because I think he has a wood stove.
Does he?
I think so. Yeah, he must.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe we can,
I'll grab some pizza crust
I
tomorrow.
can grab some mule deer. I know where it is.
You got some?
It's downstairs.
Shit, that sounds good. Nice.
Yeah.
Mule deer pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Wood fire, baby.
Sounds good. Well, the thing is, I think they were using mule deer sausage and then cutting it up as toppings on the pizza.
Yeah.
But whatever, you could do ground mule deer pizza or whatever.
For sure.
Might be running out of time for that one, but
yeah, probably. But good idea for next time. Cool, man. Well, we should probably wrap her up. Anything else you want to leave on here?
No, I'm just looking forward to the next podcast where we get to tell everybody how we got the 6-point elk that's sitting in the freezer.
Yeah.
Or the mountain goat or whatever.
I was thinking about, so I bought some mobile recording equipment. Do you think I should bring it, or should we just do the old iPhone recordings from out there?
I guess it depends how much stuff we all have in the truck. Well,
hey, Kevin, how much stuff are you bringing, man? We got room for a laptop. I don't know.
We're all rookie hunters.
Anyways, we're gonna record from the trip in one way or another. It'll probably just be the iPhone recordings, so I don't have to worry about shit getting stolen.
Yeah, part of the learning curve is how much stuff do you bring on these trips.
Yeah.
So
last I heard, Kevin's coming up with a U-Haul.
Yeah.
Just busting your balls, Kev. I know you'll hear this at some point, but yeah. Cool, man. I'm super excited. I know everybody else is too. So you took the day off tomorrow to do some final preparations. I had to work my ass off tomorrow to finish off a bunch of projects before we leave, but tomorrow evening is going to be nice to do some final preparations. My backpack's actually ready. Everything's ready except I got to get the food ready to go. And so I'm going to go through my clothing list one more time and see if I have everything. So
cool.
Yes,
I'm pretty much ready to go.
Yeah, super excited.
Sweet. Well, I guess we'll talk to everybody in a couple weeks.
Yeah, thanks for holding out for this long for us to get something.
Yeah. We'll share some recipes with you guys too once we get this thing out of the freezer.
Yeah, especially once we get further into the season, or once it's over, this will probably transition to more a cooking thing again, and which is kind of fun to talk about. I really like that part of it.
And actually, we do have a potential guest coming up here, a biologist that we want to get on the shows.
Yeah, it's just been too crazy. So we'll get back into the interviews. There's a couple, maybe another one too that we've got something else lined up potentially that's kind of exciting. So I don't want to jinx that one yet, but some other guys that we might be talking to, and good times, man. Good things coming up. So thanks to everybody for supporting this show. It's continuing to grow, which is exciting. Even though we've only been putting up a couple a month here, it continues to exceed downloads every month. So that's really encouraging. And as long as we see that, we'll continue to do this. So we do like hearing from you guys. Don't be afraid to send an email to the rookiehunterpodcast@gmail.com and let us know where you're listening from, if it's in your car, or if it's on a hunt, or whatever it might be. And if you have questions, we'll gladly answer them for you, even if it's something we've gone over. I know a lot of guys are just kind of jumping on board now, or they're just getting caught up. So whatever, send in questions regardless, and we'll be happy to direct you to older episodes, or base a new one off of someone's question, which we've done a few times in the past. So it's just nice to hear from people, and keep the ratings and reviews coming. All that stuff is great. We read all that stuff, and again, really appreciate it. So good luck to everybody that's out there, and be safe. Anything else, Cal?
No, those are the key points.
All right, guys. Happy hunting.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Like I said, for anybody who's new, there's a lot of useful information in here, and you can see how all of our persistence and everything paid off, and how our gear has evolved over the years, and how we kind of made things work with the basics to some degree. I know Kelly was always gung-ho for buying gear, but I kept things pretty simple back then, which was cool to hear. You don't need everything. I didn't even have game bags. I used bed sheets, which is hilarious. I forgot about that, but they work totally fine. So point being that you don't feel like you need everything and blow your life savings to get out there for the first year. Get creative if you need things that you don't have. Optics are obviously the most important thing. One thing I wanted to mention was we were talking about the shot, and I think we sort of circled back on this in some episodes that followed, but I mentioned where I thought I had hit the back leg. And I always thought like, oh man, it was kind of weird. I don't think I shot it like, in the back leg. Just figured I was nervous and fucked up the shot. But what we discovered later, Kelly was talking about how it sort of hit the bone and splintered it. And the more we thought about it and the more I thought about how sort of what I saw internally on the deer, it actually ricocheted when it hit that front bone, went through the body cavity and out towards the back leg. Can't say like 100%, but that's what it seemed like. There's no way it could have hit in that certain spot. So just really interesting as far as how bullets work and how they can ricochet and do a shitload of damage. So that was an interesting takeaway, something that we didn't really, realize after, something I didn't even think was possible. We also talked about Kelly was working on the skull, and a few episodes back we did the Euro mount one. This deer remains above my bed, which I think is cool. I look at it every day. I think about this hunt every day. I think about the deer. It makes me think about Oscar, who's no longer with us, and it's really special to have that. I've said this many times on the podcast. It means a lot to me and represents many things. So that was cool. The other thing, we were talking about is butchering and doing it DIY. We've kind of maintained that actually to some degree. We like to clean up the meat, prepare it as best we can, cube it, and then if we want to get things made, we'll bring them to our favorite butcher here in Kelowna, and just give them everything prepared and ready to go. Even if they're just going to grind it up for us, it is nice to like save yourself that time. We're all very busy, but we still do like to take all of the quarters and choose our choice pieces of bigger cuts if we want, and then cut everything up and clean it ourselves so that we know that we're using as much of the meat as possible, and we're keeping it nice and clean. So a little follow up on that, and we're talking about that KitchenAid mixer and using the grinder attachment for it. I later fucked up that KitchenAid grinder from grinding too much meat with it. It was like the Worm Gear, I think it was. I got one off of Amazon and repaired it, luckily. But get a good grinder. There's the takeaway from that one. But anyways, this was fun to listen to. Really great to go back to some of those early stories. And like I said, I think I'm going to continue this, and we'll call this Lessons from the Past, and we'll do a few more of them. Anyways, I hope you guys are having a fantastic hunting season, and stay safe out there. Always, please go check out our sponsors, the Wild Sheep Foundation. You can get ready for Sheep Show. That's not that far away. Zoleo, we're still using Zoleo. And of course, North Arm Knives. So thank you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.